Hey guys, tonight we begin with something absolutely fascinating and more than a little bizarre. I'm here with you this evening to explore one of the most unexpected chapters in human history, the extraordinary lengths that medieval women went to in pursuit of beauty. And trust me, when I say extraordinary, I mean it in ways that will probably make you grateful for your modern skincare routine. There's something oddly comforting about diving into these historical rabbit holes together. While you're settling in for the night, wherever you are in the world, we're about to step back nearly 1,000 years and discover that the desire to feel beautiful, to present our best selves to the world, well, that's remained remarkably constant. What's changed dramatically are the methods. Tonight, we're traveling back to a time when beauty advice came from mysterious medical texts, when achieving the perfect pale complexion might involve ingredients that would horrify a modern chemist, and when the ideal woman plucked her hairline back several inches to create what they considered the perfect forehead. It's a world where crocodile fat was considered excellent for wrinkles, where sitting in the sun with lye in your hair was the height of hair care sophistication, and where a slightly rounded belly was considered the pinnacle of feminine beauty. But here's what I find most touching about all of this. Beneath these sometimes dangerous, often painful beauty rituals, we find women who were simply trying to feel confident, attractive, and valued in their communities. The same fundamental human desires that drive us today drove them then, even if their solutions were, well, let's just say creative. Picture this, it's the 12th century in Salerno, Italy, one of Europe's most advanced centers of medical learning. In the scriptorium of a medical school, someone, possibly a woman known as Trotula de Ruggiero, though scholars still debate this, is carefully writing down recipes that will influence European beauty standards for the next several centuries. These aren't just any beauty tips. This collection, which would come to be known as the Trotula, contains some of the most fascinating, bizarre, and occasionally terrifying beauty advice ever recorded. We're talking about a manual that suggests using bull's blood mixed with flour to remove freckles, recommends holding liquefied mutton fat in your mouth for extended periods to treat chapped lips, and provides detailed instructions for creating depilatories from quicklime and arsenic. But here's what makes tonight's journey so compelling. This wasn't some fringe collection of folk remedies. The Trotula became the most influential and widely circulated source on women's medicine and beauty in medieval Europe. For centuries, women across the continent turned to these texts for advice on everything from achieving golden hair to creating the perfect pale complexion, to managing unwanted body hair. What we're going to discover together is a world where beauty standards were every bit as demanding as they are today, perhaps more so, where achieving the ideal look, that high, smooth forehead, those barely there eyebrows, that lily-white skin with just a hint of rose in the cheeks, required dedication, pain tolerance, and sometimes a willingness to risk serious health consequences. We'll explore the archaeological evidence too, like the remarkable cosmetic kit discovered in Erfurt, Germany, dating to before 1349. This elegant collection of tweezers, ear cleaners, and perfume vials gives us tangible proof that medieval beauty culture was sophisticated, valued, and deeply embedded in daily life. Tonight's story isn't just about the unusual methods women used to beautify themselves. It's about understanding a world where a woman's appearance was deeply tied to her social status, her moral character, and her very identity, where church teachings warned against the vanity of artificial enhancement, even as women continued to seek ways to feel beautiful and confident. What makes these historical beauty rituals so fascinating is how they reveal the eternal human struggle between acceptance and transformation, between working with what nature gave us and pushing beyond those boundaries, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. imaginable. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you right now. I love knowing that this community spans time zones and continents. There's something magical about the idea that someone in Tokyo might be settling down for sleep, just as someone in New York is starting their evening routine. And yet we're all here together, sharing this moment of curiosity about how people lived centuries ago. I'm always fascinated by the comments on these history videos. People share their own family stories, their cultural traditions, their observations about how certain practices have or haven't changed over time. It creates this wonderful tapestry of human experience that stretches from medieval Salerno right into your bedroom tonight. Some of you have shared stories about your own beauty routines, the things your grandmothers taught you, the traditional remedies that have been passed down through your families. It's remarkable how these threads of knowledge persist, how certain plant-based remedies or time-tested approaches continue to circulate, even in our modern world of scientifically formulated cosmetics. What I find particularly touching is when people mention feeling less alone when they listen to these stories. There's something profoundly comforting about recognizing ourselves in these historical narratives, about realizing that the things we worry about, strive for, and struggle with have been part of the human experience for centuries. Tonight's topic might seem lighter than some of our previous historical explorations, but I think you'll find it reveals some deep truths about human nature, about the lengths we go to feel accepted and valued, and about the creativity that emerges when people are determined to achieve their goals despite limited resources. Whether you're dealing with your own modern beauty routines, whether you're someone who's fascinated by historical practices, or whether you're just here for a calming voice to help you drift off to sleep, you're part of this community. Your presence here, your willingness to explore these historical curiosities with me, makes these stories richer and more meaningful. Now let's create the perfect environment for tonight's journey back to medieval Europe. Dim the lights around. We want just enough light to feel safe and comfortable, but not so much that it keeps your mind alert and active. If you have a small lamp, or perhaps just the glow from your device, that's perfect. We're aiming for that soft, contemplative atmosphere that helps your thoughts slow down naturally. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, or open a window if the night air is gentle where you are. There's something about ambient sound that helps create the right mental space for these historical explorations. We want your environment to feel calm and settled, like a medieval scriptorium in the evening hours when the day's work is done and there's time for quiet reflection. Make sure you're physically comfortable. Adjust your pillows, pull up that blanket, find that position where your body can truly relax. Tonight's story is going to take us through some detailed descriptions of medieval life, and I want you to be able to sink into those sensory details without any physical distractions pulling you back to the present moment. If you have a warm drink nearby, this might be a good time to take a sip and let that warmth settle into your chest. Think about how people in medieval times valued their evening routines, their moments of self-care and preparation for rest. In a world without electric lighting, without modern conveniences, these quiet evening rituals were even more precious than they are today. Take a moment to mentally set aside the concerns of your day. Whatever beauty routines or self-care practices are part of your modern life, whatever insecurities or pressures you might feel about appearance, just let all of that rest for now. Tonight, we're stepping into a completely different world, with completely different standards and practices, and there's something liberating about that distance. Allow your breathing to slow and deepen naturally. We're going to be moving at a medieval pace tonight. No rushing, no urgency, just the gradual unfolding of daily life in a time when everything took longer, when patience was built into every process, when the journey was often more important. than the destination. And let's ease into tonight's journey together, knowing that we have all the time in the world to explore these fascinating historical details, to understand the lives of women who lived centuries ago, and to find that gentle path toward rest and sleep. The medieval world is waiting for us, with all its strange beauty rituals, its unexpected remedies, and its timeless human stories. You are a young woman living in the year 1348 in the bustling town of Erfurt, in what is now Germany. Your world is one of narrow cobblestone streets that echo with the clip-clop of horses' hooves, the creak of wooden cartwheels, and the constant murmur of merchants calling their wares. The air carries a mixture of wood smoke from countless hearths, the earthy smell of wet thatch roofs after morning rain, and the complex aromas of a medieval town. Leather, ale, fresh bread, and the less pleasant but entirely normal scents of a world without modern sanitation. You live in a prosperous household, not nobility exactly, but comfortably merchant class. Your family deals in fine fabrics and imported goods, which means you have access to small luxuries that many women in your time can only dream of. A piece of polished metal that serves as a mirror, a wooden comb carved with delicate flowers, and most precious of all, a small collection of beauty preparations that you guard carefully in a wooden box lined with soft wool. This is a world where your appearance speaks volumes about your family's status, your moral character, and your marriageability. Every morning when you rise, every evening when you prepare for rest, you engage in rituals that connect you to women across all of medieval Europe who share the same ideals of beauty, the same understanding of what makes a woman attractive and virtuous. The ideal you strive for is specific and demanding. Your forehead should be high and smooth, almost luminously pale, rising like a perfect dome above eyebrows, so thin they're barely visible. Your skin should have the translucent quality of fine parchment, white as fresh milk with just the faintest blush of rose in your cheeks and lips. Your hair, when visible beneath your head covering, should gleam golden like spun flax, and your figure should be slender through the waist, but with a gently rounded belly that speaks of health and potential fertility. These aren't arbitrary preferences. They're deeply embedded in your culture's understanding of beauty, virtue, and divine favor. A pale complexion means you don't labor in the fields under the harsh sun. A high forehead suggests intelligence and noble bearing. Golden hair echoes the halos of saints in church paintings. Each element of your appearance carries meaning, tells a story about who you are and where you belong in the carefully ordered world of medieval society. You've learned your beauty practices from older women in your household, from whispered conversations with friends, and most importantly, from a precious manuscript that circulates among the women of your social circle, a collection of recipes and advice that some say came from a learned woman doctor in the distant medical school of Salerno. This book, copied and recopied by hand, contains secrets that women treasure. How to achieve golden hair that catches light like honey. How to create a complexion so pale it seems to glow from within. How to manage the practical realities of medieval hygiene while maintaining an appearance that meets the exacting standards of your time. Your morning begins before dawn in a world lit only by candles and the faint grey light seeping through small windows covered with oiled parchment rather than glass. The air in your chamber is cool and carries the scent of the rushes scattered across the floor. Dried herbs like lavender and rosemary mixed with the earthier smell of the straw beneath. Your breath forms small clouds in the chilly air as you emerge from beneath heavy woolen blankets and furs that smell faintly of the animals they came from, mixed with the cedar oil used to keep moths away. The wooden floorboards are smooth, but uneven under your bare feet, worn by generations of footsteps, and they creak softly as you move toward your washing basin. The water in the ceramic bowl is cold, shockingly so, and carries the clean, mineral taste of the well water that was drawn fresh yesterday evening. When you splash this water on your face, it's like a sharp awakening, your skin tingling, and immediately tightening in response to the temperature. Your washing cloth is rough-woven linen, coarse against your skin but effective at removing the night's accumulation of oils and the ever-present dust that settles on everything in a world, heated by wood fires and lit by candles. The soap you use is a precious commodity, made from rendered animal fat, wood ash, and lye. It has a harsh, alkaline smell, but produces a satisfying lather that leaves your skin feeling clean, if somewhat tight and dry. The scents that surround your morning beauty routine are complex and unfamiliar to modern sensibilities. There's the sharp, acrid smell of the vinegar you use to rinse your hair, mixed with herbs like southernwood and grapevine ash that promise to bring out golden highlights. The various unguents and ointments you apply have their own distinctive aromas. Bear fat has a rich, almost meaty scent, while the lily root you grind for your face powder smells green and slightly bitter, like the earth after rain. Your clothing carries the smell of the wooden chests where it's stored, along with sachets of dried herbs meant to keep insects away and add a pleasant fragrance. The linen of your undergarments feels rough but clean against your skin, while the wool of your outer garments has a lanolin richness that provides warmth and water resistance. Every fabric, every surface in your world carries its own scent memory, the wood smoke that permeates everything, the beeswax used to seal and preserve, the iron and leather of everyday tools and furnishings. The textures you encounter throughout your beauty routine are equally distinctive. The lead-based face powder feels chalky between your fingers, smooth and fine when properly ground, but with an almost metallic coolness that seems to cling to your skin. The various plant-based dyes you use for your lips and cheeks have the grainy texture of crushed berries or powdered roots, mixed with oils that feel heavy and rich, nothing like the light, quickly absorbed formulations of later centuries. Even the act of looking at yourself requires different sensations. Your mirror is a piece of polished metal, silver if your family is prosperous, bronze or steel if they're more modest, and it gives back a reflection that's dimmer and less precise than modern glass mirrors. You must hold it at just the right angle to catch enough candlelight or natural light to see yourself clearly, and the image wavers slightly with any movement of your hand. The sounds that accompany your morning routine are the organic noises of a pre-industrial world, the crackle of the fire being rebuilt in the hearth below, the shuffle and murmur of other household members beginning their day, the distant sound of church bells marking the passage of time, and always the subtle whisper of fabric against fabric as you move through your carefully choreographed beauty. Rituals. You are Marguerite, the 18-year-old daughter of a successful cloth merchant in Erfurt. Your position in the household and in society is carefully defined, old enough to be considered marriageable, young enough that your beauty is at its peak, and wealthy enough that your appearance reflects not just your own virtue, but your family's prosperity and good standing in the community. Your daily role involves managing some of the finer aspects of household operations, overseeing the servant girls who help with food preparation, maintaining the family's finest textiles and imported goods, and most importantly, presenting yourself as a living advertisement for your family's success and refinement. When your father conducts business with other merchants, when your mother entertains the wives of guild masters, when your family attends church services or seasonal festivals, your appearance speaks volumes about their social position. This means that your beauty routine isn't simply personal vanity, it's a crucial part of your family's economic and social strategy. The time you spend each morning carefully applying face powder made from wheat flour and white lead, the hours you dedicate to achieving the perfect pale complexion, the meticulous attention you pay to maintaining your golden hair color, all of this is an investment in your family's reputation and your own future marriage prospects. Your relationships within the household revolve around this understanding. Your mother teaches you the more sophisticated beauty techniques, sharing the carefully guarded recipes that have been passed down through generations of women in her family. She shows you how to mix the perfect shade of rouge using lily root and rose petals, how to achieve the ideal high forehead by carefully plucking your hairline, how to create the subtle but unmistakable signs of prosperity and virtue that medieval society expects from a young woman of your class. The servant girls in your household look to you as an example of what they might aspire to if fortune favors them. They help you with the more laborious aspects of your beauty routine, grinding herbs and roots into powders, heating water for your washing and hair treatments, helping you achieve the perfect arrangement of your head covering that both conceals and hints at the golden hair beneath. Your social circle consists of other daughters of prosperous merchant families, and together you form an informal network for sharing beauty secrets, comparing techniques, and acquiring rare ingredients for your cosmetic preparations. When someone's cousin travels to a distant city and returns with news of beauty practices from other regions, or when a new recipe appears claiming to come from the famous medical schools of Salerno or Paris, you gather to test and evaluate these innovations together. Your typical day involves balancing the practical responsibilities of medieval life with the considerable time and attention that your beauty routine requires. Unlike modern women who might spend 15 or 20 minutes on their morning skincare and makeup, your complete beauty regimen can take several hours, especially on days when you're washing and treating your hair or applying the more complex facial preparations that must be left on for extended periods. The seasonal rhythms of medieval life also shape your beauty practices. Summer means more opportunities to sit in the sunlight while treating your hair with bleaching mixtures, but it also means protecting your precious pale complexion from the darkening effects of too much sun exposure. Winter brings challenges of maintaining soft skin in harsh weather, but also opportunities to focus on the more intensive beauty treatments that require staying indoors for extended periods. Of course, maintaining medieval beauty standards isn't simply a matter of applying a few cosmetics and heading out the door. Your morning routine begins while the household is still quiet, because achieving the perfect appearance requires time, patience, and the kind of focused attention that's difficult to maintain once the daily bustle begins. You start by examining your face carefully in your small metal mirror, checking for any blemishes that developed overnight, noting whether yesterday's face powder application was successful or if your skin shows signs of irritation from the lead-based cosmetics. You observe these details with the practical eye of someone who understands that beauty in your world requires constant vigilance and adjustment. The first challenge is always the cold. Your beauty routine requires washing with cold water, and on winter mornings this means breaking through a thin layer of ice that forms on the water basin overnight. You brace yourself, knowing that the shock of cold water on your face will leave you breathless for a moment, but understanding that this is simply part of the process of maintaining proper hygiene and preparing your skin for the day's cosmetic applications. You apply your various preparations methodically, working from the recipes you've memorized through years of practice. The face powder goes on first, a mixture of wheat flour, white lead, and sometimes ground white marble that creates the pale, luminous complexion that marks you as a woman of leisure and virtue. The texture feels strange against your skin, chalky and slightly gritty, but you're accustomed to this sensation, and you know that the result will be worth the temporary discomfort. Each step of your routine has its own small challenges and satisfactions. The rouge made from lily root and rose petals requires careful blending to achieve just the right shade. Too pale and you look ill, too dark and you appear immodest. The careful plucking of your hairline to maintain that high, smooth forehead requires steady hands and considerable pain tolerance, but the result is a look that clearly communicates your understanding of proper beauty standards. You work through these routines with the patience of someone who understands that beauty, in your world, is never accidental and never effortless. It's a craft that requires skill, dedication, and a willingness to endure temporary discomfort in service of a larger goal. You wake naturally as the first pale light begins to filter through the oiled parchment covering your chamber window. There are no clocks in your world, no artificial lighting to disrupt the natural rhythms of sleep and waking, so your body has learned to rise with the gradual brightening of dawn. The air is sharp and cold against your face as you emerge from the warm cocoon of woolen blankets and furs, your breath visible in small puffs that dissipate quickly in the chill. Your first task is always the same: lighting a single candle from the banked coals in the brazier that provides heat for your chamber. The flame catches slowly, casting dancing shadows across the rough-plastered walls, and suddenly your small space transforms from the grey uncertainty of pre-dawn into a warm golden sanctuary. You treasure these quiet moments before the household begins to stir, when you can focus entirely on the careful ritual of preparing yourself for the day ahead. The washing water in your ceramic basin has formed a thin skin of ice overnight, which you break with the wooden handle of your washing cloth. The sound is sharp and clean in the morning silence, a tiny crack followed by the gentle lap of water against the sides of the bowl. When you splash this icy water on your face, the shock takes your breath away for a moment, but you've learned to welcome this sensation as the first step in awakening both your body and your mind. You begin your beauty routine with the basic cleansing that every woman in your social class performs daily. Using your rough linen washing cloth and the harsh but effective soap made from animal fat and lye, you scrub away the oils and dust that accumulate overnight. The soap has a sharp, alkaline smell that makes your eyes water slightly, but it produces a satisfying lather that leaves your skin feeling clean and tight. Once your face is clean and patted dry with a softer cloth, you begin the more complex process of applying your cosmetics. First comes the face powder, a carefully prepared mixture of wheat flour, white lead, and sometimes ground white marble that creates the pale, luminous complexion so prized in your time. You mix this powder with a small amount of rose water, creating a paste that you apply evenly across your face and neck with your fingertips. The texture is unlike anything a modern woman would recognize, chalky and slightly gritty, with an almost metallic coolness from the lead content. As it dries on your skin, it tightens noticeably, creating a mask-like sensation that you've grown accustomed to over years of practice. The result, when you check your reflection in your polished metal mirror, is a complexion of ethereal paleness that immediately marks you as a woman of leisure and virtue. Next comes the careful application of color to your cheeks and lips. Using a mixture of lily root and crushed rose petals that you prepared the previous evening, you create the faintest blush of rose that brings life to your pale complexion without suggesting immodesty. This rouge has a subtle floral scent and a texture like fine sand mixed with oil. You apply it with your fingertips, blending carefully to ensure that the color appears natural, as if arising from perfect health rather than artificial enhancement. The final step of your morning facial routine involves the careful grooming of your eyebrows. Using a pair of small tweezers, part of the precious cosmetic kit that represents a significant portion of your family's investment in your marriageability, you methodically pluck individual hairs to maintain the thin, barely there arches that current fashion demands. This process is painful, causing your eyes to water, but you endure it with the patience of someone who understands that beauty requires sacrifice. Your primary daily activities revolve around the management of your family's household and the maintenance of your own appearance, both of which require considerable skill, knowledge, and time. Unlike women of the laboring classes who must focus primarily on survival tasks, your position allows you to dedicate substantial portions of each day to the cultivation of beauty and refinement that reflects your family's prosperity. This morning, after completing your facial preparations, you turn your attention to your hair, perhaps the most time-consuming and complex aspect of your beauty routine. Your hair is your glory, the visible sign of your youth, health, and femininity, and maintaining its golden color and lustrous condition requires almost daily attention and weekly intensive treatments that can take most of a day to complete properly. You begin by carefully removing the linen cap you wore to bed, which protected your hair from tangling while you slept and absorbed the oils from the previous day's treatments. Your hair falls to your waist when fully unbound, a cascade of carefully maintained waves that catch and reflect the candlelight like spun gold. But achieving and maintaining this color requires constant vigilance and the regular application of bleaching treatments that would horrify a modern woman. Today is a hair washing day, which means you'll spend the better part of the morning preparing and applying the various treatments that keep your hair the fashionable shade of blonde that medieval society prizes above all other colors. You start by mixing a solution of lye made from grapevine ashes, adding southernwood herbs that you dried and stored from last summer's garden, and a pinch of salt that helps the mixture penetrate the hair shaft more effectively. The lye solution has a sharp, caustic smell that makes your eyes water and burns slightly when it comes into contact with your scalp. You apply it systematically, working from the roots to the tips, using a wooden comb to ensure even distribution. The sensation is uncomfortable, the lye tingles and burns against your scalp, and you must be careful not to let it drip onto your face, where it could damage the delicate skin around your eyes. While the lye treatment processes, you prepare the oil treatment that will follow, a mixture of warm oil heated in a pomegranate rind, which gives it a subtle, exotic fragrance and supposedly enhances its effectiveness. The oil is precious, imported from distant lands at considerable expense, but your family considers this investment essential to maintaining their daughter's marriageability and social standing. After the prescribed time, you rinse the lye treatment with clean water, working carefully to remove every trace of the caustic solution while preserving the lightening effects on your hair. The water runs pale yellow as you rinse, carrying away the dissolved oils and impurities along with some of the natural color of your hair. Your scalp feels tight and slightly raw, but this discomfort is a familiar part of the process. Next comes the oil treatment, which you massage into your damp hair from roots to tips. The warm oil feels soothing after the harsh lye treatment, and its rich texture helps restore some of the moisture that the bleaching process inevitably removes. The pomegranate rind gives the oil a complex, slightly astringent fragrance that will linger in your hair for days, marking you as someone who has access to exotic and expensive beauty treatments. The final step involves applying a mixture of bear fat, willow ash, and wine that promises to encourage hair growth and maintain the lustrous condition that marks healthy, well-cared-for hair. The bear fat has a rich, slightly animal smell that mingles with the wine's acidity and the earthy scent of willow ash. This mixture feels heavy and greasy as you work it through your hair, but you know from experience that the results justify the temporary unpleasantness. Throughout these processes, you work with the focused concentration of someone performing a skilled craft. Every step must be timed precisely, every mixture prepared to exact proportions, every application technique performed with the expertise that comes from years of practice and instruction from older women who have mastered these arts. As you work through your morning beauty routine, the household gradually comes to life around you. Your mother appears at your chamber door, carrying a cup of warm wine mixed with honey and spices, a morning beverage that supposedly promotes health and enhances the natural rosiness of your complexion. She settles beside you, examining your progress with the expert eye of someone who has spent decades perfecting these same techniques. The lye mixture is working well, she observes, noting the pale golden tone your hair is achieving. But perhaps we should add more southernwood next time. The color could be lighter still. These conversations about beauty techniques form a crucial part of your relationship with your mother. She's your primary teacher in the arts of feminine presentation, passing down not just recipes and methods, but the subtle understanding of how to read your own coloring, how to adjust treatments based on the season, how to achieve effects that appear natural despite the considerable artifice involved. Your younger sister, barely 14, watches these preparations with fascination and impatience. She's not yet old enough for the full range of beauty treatments, but she practices the simpler techniques under your mother's guidance, learning to mix basic face powders and apply the lightest touches of rouge. "When will I be allowed to pluck my hairline?" she asks, touching her own forehead with a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. "When you're betrothed," your mother replies firmly. "The high forehead is for women who are ready for marriage, not girls who are still learning their letters." This exchange reminds you of the social significance of every aspect of your appearance. Each element of your beauty routine marks your position in the careful hierarchy of medieval womanhood: child, marriageable maiden, wife, matron. The servant girls who help with the more laborious aspects of your beauty preparations treat these routines with a mixture of admiration and practicality. They understand that your appearance reflects not just your own status, but theirs as well. A beautifully presented mistress suggests a well-managed household, which enhances everyone's reputation. They take pride in grinding your face powders to exactly the right consistency, in heating your oil treatments to the perfect temperature, in maintaining the cleanliness and organization of your cosmetic supplies. When your friend Agnes arrives for her weekly visit, she brings news of beauty innovations from other households in your social circle. "Bertha's mother has acquired a new recipe for removing freckles," she reports breathlessly. "It involves bull's blood mixed with flour, applied for 3 consecutive nights during the new moon." You and your mother exchange glances. Such exotic treatments are always intriguing, but they require careful consideration before adoption. These social interactions around beauty practices create bonds between women that transcend age and social position, sharing knowledge, comparing results, troubleshooting problems. These conversations form the backbone of female community in your world, creating networks of support and expertise that help women navigate the complex demands of medieval femininity. The seasonal rhythms of medieval life deeply influence your beauty routines, creating a natural calendar of treatments and preparations that aligns with the availability of ingredients and the changing demands of weather and social obligations. This late autumn morning carries the crisp scent of burning wood from countless household fires, mixed with the earthy smell of fallen leaves and the first hint of the harsh winter to come. Your chamber walls, made of thick stone covered with lime plaster, retain the cold from the night and will warm slowly even as the day progresses. The floor rushes, scattered with dried herbs like lavender and rosemary, release their fragrance when you step on them, creating a subtle aromatherapy that helps combat the sometimes overwhelming smells of medieval urban life. The herbs also help repel insects and provide a small barrier against the cold stone beneath. The light filtering through your oiled parchment window has that particular quality of autumn sunshine, bright but weak, casting everything in golden tones that make your newly treated hair gleam like precious metal. This natural lighting is crucial for your beauty routine, as it's the only reliable illumination you have for the delicate work of applying cosmetics and checking the results of your treatments. The textures that surround you tell the story of a world where everything is handmade, where smooth surfaces are precious and rough ones are the norm. Your wooden cosmetic box, carved by a local craftsman, has been polished smooth by years of handling, its surface soft as silk beneath your fingertips. The ceramic bowls that hold your various preparations have the slight irregularities that mark them as products of individual skill rather than mass production. The sounds of your beauty routine create their own rhythm. The soft splash of water against ceramic, the gentle scrape of your wooden comb through damp hair, the whisper of fabric against fabric as you move around your chamber. These familiar sounds are punctuated by the growing noise of the household awakening. Footsteps on wooden stairs, the clatter of pottery in the kitchen below, voices calling softly to avoid disturbing those still sleeping. The air itself carries information about your world. The smoke from wood fires tells you which neighbors are already awake and beginning their daily cooking. The absence of certain industrial smells that would become commonplace in later centuries. The clean sharpness of air unpolluted by modern contaminants. When the wind shifts, you catch hints of the larger world. The yeasty smell of the baker's ovens 3 streets away, the metallic tang from the blacksmith's forge, the green scent of the countryside that still presses close against the town's edges. Even the quality of silence in your world differs from what people in later centuries would know. There's no constant hum of electricity, no distant traffic, no mechanical background noise. The quiet moments of your morning routine are truly quiet, broken only by natural sounds. Wind, voices, the movement of animals, the organic noises of a world powered by human and animal energy rather than machines. By midday, your hair treatments have completed their work, and you begin the careful process of rinsing and styling that will occupy much of the afternoon. The autumn sun streams through your window with just enough warmth to make the drying process comfortable, though you know that in a few weeks, when winter truly arrives, this same routine will require sitting close to the fire with damp hair steaming in the heat. Your midday meal arrives on a wooden tray carried by young Greta, one of the household servants who has become fascinated by your beauty routines. She sets down a bowl of pottage, thick with barley and vegetables, a piece of dark bread, still warm, from the morning's baking, and a small cup of ale that's safer to drink than the well water. But more importantly, she brings news from the kitchen about a traveling merchant who claims to carry rare cosmetic ingredients from as far away as the Mediterranean. He has real rose oil, Greta whispers conspiratorially, and something he calls white mercury that he says comes from the alchemists in Paris. The cook says it makes skin so pale you look like an angel. You exchange glances with your mother, who has joined you for the meal. New cosmetic ingredients are always intriguing, but they also carry risks. The line between medicine and poison is thin in your world, and beauty treatments that promise miraculous results often come with dangers that aren't immediately apparent. As you eat, you can feel the face powder you applied this morning beginning to set and tighten across your skin. By afternoon, you'll need to refresh it, adding another layer to maintain that perfect porcelain complexion that marks you as a woman of leisure. The white lead in the powder creates a cumulative effect. Each application builds on the last, gradually achieving a more dramatic paleness, but also gradually increasing the risk of the skin irritation and poisoning that some women experience after years of use. Your mother notices you touching your face and nods knowingly. The powder works well on you, she observes, but we should prepare some of the lily root mixture for this afternoon. The lead can be harsh, especially in the dry air. This casual mention of managing the toxic effects of your beauty routine illustrates perfectly how medieval women balanced their desire for beauty with the practical realities of the treatments available to them. The conversation turns to the evening's social obligations. The Merchant Guild is hosting a feast to celebrate the successful completion of the autumn trading season, and your family's attendance is both expected and advantageous. This means your afternoon beauty routine must be more elaborate than usual, with special attention to the cosmetics that will appear most attractive by candlelight and firelight. You'll need the deeper rouge tonight, your mother advises, and perhaps some of the kohl around your eyes. The lighting at guild feasts can wash out your natural coloring. These considerations, how different lighting affects appearance, how to adjust cosmetics for various social situations, represent a level of sophistication in medieval beauty culture that's often overlooked by those who imagine the period as primitive or unsophisticated. As you finish your meal, you can eat. Hear the sounds of preparation beginning throughout the household. Your father's voice carries from the main hall as he discusses business matters with his apprentices. The servants move with increased purpose, preparing for the evening's social obligations. The whole household operates as a coordinated unit, with your appearance serving as one element in the larger presentation of family prosperity and respectability. The afternoon light has shifted, casting longer shadows across your chamber as you begin the more intensive beauty preparations required for tonight's guild feast. Your hair, now dry from the morning's treatments, gleams with a pale golden color that catches and reflects even the subdued autumn sunlight. You brush it carefully with a comb carved from boxwood, working from the ends toward the roots to avoid breaking the delicate strands that have been weakened by repeated bleaching treatments. Your mother has prepared a special face treatment for the afternoon, a mixture that must be applied and left in place for several hours before tonight's festivities. The recipe comes from the precious manuscript that circulates among the women of your social circle, claiming to originate from the famous medical schools of Salerno. It involves creating a paste from peeled and boiled wild turnips, mashed and mixed with bean flour, powdered white breadcrumbs, and what the recipe mysteriously calls the foam of champagne. The preparation process is elaborate and time-consuming. First, the turnips must be boiled until they're soft enough to mash completely smooth. The bean flour requires careful sifting to remove any coarse particles that might irritate your skin. The breadcrumbs must be ground to an almost powder-like consistency, and the wine must be aged just enough to develop the effervescent quality that creates the desired foam. When your mother finally mixes these ingredients together, the result is a pale, thick paste with an earthy, slightly yeasty smell. The texture is cool and smooth as she applies it to your face with gentle, upward strokes, covering your forehead, cheeks, chin, and neck, while carefully avoiding the delicate skin around your eyes. The sensation is initially refreshing, but as the mixture begins to dry, it tightens considerably, creating a mask-like feeling that makes facial expressions difficult. You must keep this in place until evening, your mother instructs, and try not to speak more than necessary. The treatment works by drawing out impurities and tightening the skin, but any movement can crack the surface and reduce its effectiveness. This means spending the rest of the afternoon in relative isolation, unable to participate normally in household activities, dedicated entirely to the pursuit of perfect skin for tonight's important social event. While you sit quietly with your face treatment processing, Agnes arrives for her planned afternoon visit, accompanied by her younger cousin who's visiting from a distant town. The cousin brings fascinating news of beauty practices from other regions. Apparently, women in the Northern Territories have discovered a way to achieve red hair using a mixture that involves cooking green lizards in oil. Though she admits, this sounds both expensive and somewhat alarming. Your afternoon also includes attention to other aspects of your appearance that require regular maintenance. Using your precious tweezers, you carefully pluck any unwanted hairs that have appeared since your last grooming session. This includes not just facial hair, but also the careful management of your hairline to maintain that high, smooth forehead that current fashion demands. Each hair must be plucked individually, a process that's both painful and time-consuming, but essential for achieving the ideal medieval beauty standard. The changing light of late afternoon creates different challenges and opportunities for your beauty routine. The softer, more golden light is perfect for checking the evenness of your hair color and planning the final touches of tonight's cosmetic application. You use this time to organize your various beauty preparations, ensuring that everything you'll need for the evening's transformation is clean, properly mixed, and ready for application. The guild feast you're preparing for represents one of the most important social institutions of medieval urban life, and your appearance tonight will be scrutinized not just as a reflection of your personal beauty, but as evidence of your family's prosperity, their understanding of proper social behavior, and their worthiness to participate in the complex web of relationships that govern medieval commerce and politics. Medieval beauty standards are deeply intertwined with religious and moral beliefs that shape every aspect of your society. The pale complexion you work so hard to achieve isn't just fashionable, it's seen as a sign of spiritual purity and moral virtue. Women with dark or sun-tanned skin are assumed to be laborers, people who must work outdoors and therefore occupy a lower social position. Your translucent paleness announces to the world that you live a life of leisure and refinement, protected from the coarsening effects of manual labor and outdoor exposure. The high forehead that you maintain through careful plucking is believed to indicate intelligence and noble bearing. Medieval people believed that the forehead was literally the seat of wisdom and rational thought, so a woman with a prominent, smooth forehead was assumed to possess superior mental capabilities. This belief influences not just beauty practices, but also social expectations. Women with high foreheads are often considered better candidates for marriages that require diplomatic skills or household management abilities. The golden hair that you achieve through your complex bleaching treatments connects you to religious imagery that pervades medieval art and literature. The halos of saints in church paintings are invariably golden and blonde. Hair is often described in religious texts as a sign of divine favor. By achieving this coloring, you're not just following fashion, you're aligning yourself with spiritual ideals that your society holds sacred. Even the specific cosmetic techniques you use carry cultural significance. The rouge made from lily, roots and rose petals connects you to the symbolic language of medieval Christianity, where lilies represent purity and roses represent divine love. The fact that your beauty treatments incorporate these plants isn't accidental. It's a way of ensuring that your physical appearance harmonizes with the spiritual values that govern your society. The elaborate nature of your beauty routine also serves important economic functions within your community. The expensive ingredients you use, the imported oils, the precious metals in your cosmetics, the rare herbs and minerals represent a significant investment that demonstrates your family's commercial success. Other merchants and guild members can assess your family's current prosperity simply by observing the quality and sophistication of your appearance. The time you spend on beauty treatments also communicates important social messages. In a world where most people must dedicate every daylight hour to survival activities, the fact that you can spend half a day on cosmetic preparations announces that your family has achieved sufficient success to support members who don't engage in productive labor. Your beauty routine is, in effect, a form of conspicuous consumption that serves important social and economic functions beyond simple vanity. As the afternoon progresses and your face treatment continues its slow work, you find yourself reflecting on the complex emotions that surround your daily beauty practices. There's anticipation, certainly. Tonight's guild feast will include young men from several prominent merchant families, and your parents have made it clear that your appearance could influence important marriage negotiations that affect not just your future, but the prosperity of your entire household. But there's also a deeper satisfaction that comes from mastering these intricate beauty arts, from understanding the subtle chemistry of mixing cosmetics, from developing the skilled hands and patient temperament required to achieve consistent results. Your beauty routine isn't just about meeting social expectations. It's about demonstrating your competence in a complex craft that requires intelligence, creativity, and considerable technical skill. You think about your younger sister watching your every move with fascination and impatience, eager for the day when she'll be old enough to begin her own serious beauty practices. You remember being her age, observing your mother and older female relatives with the same hungry attention, absorbing the knowledge that would eventually allow you to take your place in the sophisticated world of medieval femininity. There's also an awareness of the risks you're taking, the ways that your pursuit of beauty requires you to balance immediate goals against long-term consequences. You've heard whispered stories of women whose skin was permanently damaged by years of lead-based cosmetics, whose hair became brittle and broke from repeated bleaching treatments, whose health suffered from the various toxic substances that medieval beauty culture considers normal and necessary. But these risks feel manageable, even reasonable, when weighed against the social benefits of meeting beauty standards. In your world, a woman's appearance directly affects her marriage prospects, which in turn determine her economic security, her social position, and her ability to support her family. The choice isn't really between beauty treatments and health. It's between temporary risks and permanent social disadvantage. As you sit quietly with your face treatment processing, you can feel your skin tightening and smoothing beneath the mask of turnip paste and breadcrumbs. There's something almost meditative about this enforced stillness, this dedicated time when you can think about nothing but the slow work of transformation taking place on your face. Modern people would find this level of patience and discomfort difficult to endure, but you've been trained from childhood to understand that worthwhile achievements require both time and sacrifice. Your thoughts turn to the women who developed these beauty recipes, particularly the mysterious Trotula, whose teachings have influenced generations of European women. You wonder about her life, her motivations, her understanding of the female experience. Did she develop these treatments through personal experimentation, or did she inherit ancient knowledge passed down through generations of women? How many women contributed their discoveries and refinements to the collection of recipes that now guides your own beauty practices? The late afternoon light filtering through your chamber window takes on that golden quality that photographers in later centuries will learn to treasure. In this natural lighting, even with your face covered in drying paste, you can see yourself as part of a long tradition of women who have dedicated time, energy, and resources to the pursuit of beauty, each generation building on the knowledge of those who came before, each woman contributing her own discoveries to the collective wisdom of feminine culture. As the sun begins its descent toward the horizon, casting long amber shadows across your chamber floor, the time has come to remove your afternoon face treatment and begin the final preparations for tonight's guild feast. The turnip and breadcrumb paste has been drying on your face for nearly 4 hours now, tightening your skin until every expression feels constrained, every slight movement of your facial muscles pulling against the hardened mask. Your mother brings a basin of warm water, a luxury that required heating precious fuel and carrying heavy containers up the narrow stairs to your chamber. The water steams gently in the cooling air, scented with rose petals that she scattered on the surface moments before. Using soft linen cloths, she begins the delicate process of removing the dried treatment, working from the edges inward with gentle, circular motions that gradually dissolve the paste without irritating your newly sensitized skin. The sensation of removal is almost as distinctive as the application was. As each section of the mask comes away, you can feel the cool air touching skin that feels tighter, smoother, and somehow more refined than it did this morning. The treatment has drawn out oils and impurities, leaving your complexion with that translucent quality that medieval beauty standards prize above all else. When you look in your polished metal mirror, the reflection shows skin so pale it seems to emit its own soft light, exactly the ethereal quality that will mark you tonight as a woman of virtue and refinement. But this is only the beginning of your evening transformation. Now comes the careful application of cosmetics specifically chosen for their appearance under candlelight and firelight. Your mother has prepared a special face powder for tonight. Wheat flour mixed with ground white marble and just a touch of crushed pearl that one of your father's trading contacts acquired from the Baltic regions. This powder has a subtle luminescence that will catch and reflect the flickering light of the Guildhall's many candles. The evening rouge requires different considerations than your daytime cosmetics. Tonight, you need color that will remain visible even in the warm, golden light of fires and oil lamps, so your mother mixes a deeper shade using madder root and crushed berries, creating a rose color that's more intense than your usual delicate blush, but still within the bounds of modesty that your social position requires. Your hair, now completely dry from the morning's treatments, receives its final styling for the evening. This involves carefully braiding sections and then arranging them according to the latest fashion among merchant wives. A complex style that requires pinning and securing multiple elements, while ensuring that your head covering will sit properly, without disturbing the elaborate structure underneath. The golden color achieved by your morning's lye treatment gleams even in the subdued light of your chamber, promising to look magnificent under the brighter illumination of the Guildhall. The final touch involves applying a subtle amount of kohl around your eyes, a cosmetic technique that's not always appropriate for daytime wear, but becomes essential for evening events where the lighting might wash out your natural coloring. The kohl, made from soot mixed with animal fat, feels strange and heavy on your eyelids, but it creates a dramatic enhancement that makes your eyes appear larger and more luminous in dim lighting conditions. Throughout these preparations, you're acutely aware that tonight's appearance will be scrutinized by people whose opinions could significantly affect your family's social and economic position. The other merchant families will be evaluating not just your beauty, but your family's understanding of appropriate social behavior, their current level of prosperity, and their suitability as potential marriage allies. Your father appears at your chamber door as you complete your final preparations, dressed in his finest woolen robes with the guild insignia prominently displayed on his chest. His presence here, in the feminine space of your beauty routine, underscores the importance of tonight's social obligations. Normally, he would never intrude on these intimate preparations, but tonight, your appearance serves his business interests as much as your personal ones. The Zimmermann family will be there tonight, he says carefully, referring to one of the most prosperous textile merchant families in the region. Their eldest son has recently returned from his trading journey to Flanders, and his father has been making inquiries about suitable marriage alliances. This information hangs in the air between you, loaded with implications about the evening's social dynamics and the role your appearance will play in potentially life-changing negotiations. Your mother catches your eye in the metal mirror, Her expression communicating volumes about the delicate balance you must strike tonight. You need to look beautiful enough to attract favorable attention, prosperous enough to suggest a valuable alliance, but modest enough to demonstrate proper moral character. It's a complex calculation that requires not just physical beauty but social intelligence and emotional sophistication. Your younger sister hovers at the edge of the chamber, fascinated by this culmination of the day's beauty preparations. She's too young to attend tonight's feast, but old enough to understand its significance in the broader pattern of medieval social life. "Will you dance tonight?" she asks, and you realize she's trying to understand how these elaborate beauty preparations translate into actual social interaction. "Only if the music is appropriate and the other families approve," your mother answers for you. But her response reveals the careful choreography of medieval social events. Every interaction tonight will be observed and interpreted, every dance, partner noted, every conversation analyzed for its potential significance. Your beauty preparations are just the foundation for a complex evening of social performance that could influence your family's fortunes for years to come. The household servants gather to witness your final transformation, their presence serving multiple functions. As witnesses to your family's prosperity and refinement, they can spread positive reports through the servant networks that connect all the prominent households in your community. Their admiration also provides valuable feedback about the effectiveness of your beauty preparations. Servants see many different households and can offer informed opinions about how your appearance compares to other young women of your social class. Agnes arrives with her own mother, both dressed for tonight's feast, and the four women of your generation create a small constellation of medieval feminine sophistication. Agnes's beauty routine has followed similar patterns to yours, but her family's slightly different economic circumstances and regional connections have led to variations that create opportunities for comparison and learning. Her hair shows traces of a saffron treatment that gives it a warmer, more golden tone than your lye-bleached locks, and her rouge has a subtly different undertone that suggests access to imported ingredients from different trading routes. The conversation among the women reveals the complex social intelligence that governs medieval beauty culture. Your mother and Agnes's mother discuss the other families who will attend tonight, analyzing their recent business successes or setbacks, their sons' marriage prospects, their daughters' reputations. This information helps you understand how to position yourself socially, which families to seek conversation with, which young men might represent appropriate dance partners. Your father's business associates begin arriving at the house, their voices carrying up from the main hall as they prepare for the group departure to the guild hall. The sound of male voices discussing trade routes, political developments, and business opportunities creates a backdrop that reminds you of the larger economic and social forces that your personal beauty serves. Tonight isn't just about individual attraction or personal satisfaction. It's about maintaining and advancing your family's position within the complex web of relationships that governs medieval urban life. As the final preparations conclude, you can feel the weight of expectation settling around you like the heavy wool cloak your mother drapes over your shoulders. Tonight, your appearance will speak for your family's values, their prosperity, their understanding of proper social behavior, and their worthiness to participate in the marriage alliances that bind the merchant community together. In the final, quiet moments before joining the family group departing for the guild hall, you allow yourself a brief period of private reflection in front of your polished metal mirror. The face that looks back at you represents hours of careful preparation, generations of accumulated beauty knowledge, and a significant investment of your family's resources. But more than that, it represents your own mastery of the complex arts of medieval femininity. You touch your face gently, feeling the slight tightness of the face powder, the smooth texture that the afternoon's treatment has created. the subtle enhancement that evening cosmetics have added to your natural coloring. There's a satisfaction in this transformation that goes beyond simple vanity. It's the pleasure of skilled craftsmanship, of understanding complex processes well enough to achieve consistent, beautiful results. Your thoughts turn to the generations of women who have stood in similar moments, preparing for social events that might determine their futures, balancing personal desires against family obligations, using beauty as both self-expression and social strategy. The recipes you've followed today connect you to women across centuries and continents, each contributing her own discoveries to the collective knowledge of feminine culture. You think about Trotula of Salerno, whose mysterious figure looms behind so many of the beauty practices you've mastered. Did she understand when she recorded her recipes for golden hair and perfect complexions that women, centuries later, would still be following her instructions? Did she imagine young women like yourself sitting in chambers far from her Mediterranean world, using her techniques to navigate the complex social demands of their own time and place? There's also a moment of acknowledgement for the risks you've accepted in pursuit of tonight's beauty. The lead in your face powder, the caustic lye in your hair treatments, the various toxic substances that medieval beauty culture considers normal. You're aware of these dangers, but you've made the calculated decision that the social benefits outweigh the health risks. In your world, the choice isn't between safety and beauty, but between different kinds of risk, different strategies for securing your future. You pick up the small cosmetic kit that you'll carry tonight. Tweezers, a tiny vial of perfumed oil, a cloth for touching up your cosmetics, all contained in a beautiful wooden box that represents both practical necessity and social status. This kit connects you to the archaeological evidence that future generations will discover, the tangible proof that medieval women valued beauty tools enough to invest in elegant, durable containers for their cosmetic supplies. In this quiet moment, you can feel the weight of history settling around your shoulders along with your woolen cloak. Tonight, you'll join the ongoing human story of beauty, attraction, social connection, and the endless creativity that people bring to the challenge of presenting their best selves to the world. The specific techniques may be unique to your time and place, but the underlying human desires are eternal and universal. As you hear the final preparations being completed in the main hall below, your anticipation for the evening ahead becomes mixed with the natural nervousness that accompanies any significant social event. Tonight's guild feast represents more than just entertainment. It's a crucial opportunity for your family to reinforce their position within the merchant community and for you to be evaluated as a potential marriage partner by several prominent families. The autumn season adds its own significance to tonight's gathering. The successful completion of the year's major trading ventures means that families are celebrating their prosperity and looking ahead to the winter months when social connections become even more important. The marriages arranged during autumn feast season often reflect the year's commercial successes, creating alliances that will shape business relationships for generations to come. You can smell the preparations from the guild hall kitchen, even from your chamber window. Roasted meats, spiced wine, honey cakes, and the dozen other delicacies that mark a truly festive occasion. Your stomach responds with a mixture of appetite and nervousness, reminding you that the evening will require careful attention to eating appropriately. A young woman who appears too hungry might suggest a family of modest means, while one who picks at her food might seem wasteful or ungrateful. The sound of horses and carts gathering in the courtyard below signals that other families are beginning to arrive for the group departure to the guild hall. Medieval social events operate according to complex protocols about arrival times, seating arrangements, and social precedents that require careful navigation. Your family's timing tonight will communicate important messages about their understanding of proper social behavior and their confidence in their current status. Your mother appears one final time to inspect your appearance, making tiny adjustments to your head covering, checking that your cosmetics remain perfect, ensuring that every detail meets the exacting standards that tonight's audience will expect. Her attention to these details reflects not just maternal pride, but professional expertise. She understands better than anyone how medieval social dynamics operate and what visual cues communicate status, virtue, and marriageability. The anticipation, building in your chest, feels similar to what you imagine performers must experience before taking the stage. Tonight, you'll be performing the complex role of medieval young womanhood, demonstrating through your appearance, behavior, and conversation that you understand and embody the values that your society prizes. It's a performance that requires not just beauty, but intelligence, grace, and the kind of social sophistication that takes years to develop. As the final call comes from below for family members to gather for departure, you take one last look around your chamber, the scene of this morning's elaborate beauty preparations, the private space where you've transformed yourself from a sleepy young woman into a carefully prepared representative of your family's aspirations and values. Tonight, we'll test everything you've learned about medieval beauty culture, social interaction, and the delicate art of using personal appeal to advance family interests. The Guildhall emerges from the autumn darkness like a beacon of warmth and prosperity, its many windows glowing golden with the light of countless candles and oil lamps. As your family's cart approaches the imposing timber and stone building, you can hear the murmur of conversation, the soft melody of musicians tuning their instruments, and the general bustle of medieval society gathering for one of its most important seasonal celebrations. This feast represents the culmination of the autumn trading season, when merchants from across the region gather to celebrate successful ventures, settle final accounts, and begin the social negotiations that will shape business relationships through the winter months ahead. For families like yours, it's an opportunity to display prosperity, reinforce social connections, and advance the delicate marriage negotiations that bind the merchant community together across generations. Your carefully achieved beauty will be tested tonight under conditions completely different from the controlled environment of your chamber. The Guildhall's lighting comes from flickering candles, smoking oil lamps, and the great fireplace that dominates one end of the main room. This creates a warm, golden atmosphere that flatters some complexions while washing out others, that makes certain colors appear rich and lustrous while rendering others dull and muddy. The air inside the hall carries a complex mixture of scents that will interact with your carefully applied cosmetics and perfumes. Wood smoke from the great fireplace mingles with the aroma of roasted meats, spiced wine, beeswax candles, and the subtle but persistent smell of wool and linen from dozens of elaborately dressed guests. Your morning's application of musk and rose oil will need to hold its own against this aromatic backdrop without becoming overwhelming or inappropriate. The social dynamics you'll navigate tonight operate according to rules that have been developing for generations. Where you sit, whom you speak with, which dances you participate in, even how you hold your wine cup. All of these details will be observed and interpreted by people whose opinions could significantly affect your family's future. Your beauty preparations have given you the foundation, but now you must demonstrate the social intelligence and grace that transform mere physical attractiveness into genuine medieval feminine accomplishment. The other young women present tonight have undergone similar beauty preparations, creating a kind of informal competition where families display their daughters' accomplishments and marriageability. But this isn't simply a beauty contest, it's a complex social negotiation where appearance, behavior, family reputation, and economic prospects all contribute to the careful calculations that govern medieval marriage arrangements. As you step down from the cart and gather your woolen cloak around your shoulders, you can feel the weight of expectation settling around you. Tonight, we'll test everything you've learned about medieval beauty culture, social interaction, and the delicate art of using personal appeal to advance family interests. The hours of preparation, the carefully applied cosmetics, the elaborate hair treatments. All of this has been leading to this moment when you take your place in the ongoing social drama of medieval urban life. The moment you enter the guild hall, the warmth hits your face like a gentle wave, carrying with it the rich sense of celebration and the soft buzz of conversation from dozens of well-dressed families already gathered for the evening's festivities. Your eyes need a moment to adjust to the golden, flickering light, so different from the steady illumination you're accustomed to in your own chamber. When your vision clears, you're struck by the magnificent sight of medieval society displaying its autumn prosperity. The hall has been transformed for tonight's celebration. Tapestries hang from the walls, their rich colors glowing in the candlelight, while the long tables are covered with fine linen and set with the guild's best silver and pewter. The great fireplace crackles with logs that must have cost a small fortune, casting dancing shadows across the gathered guests and filling the air with the comfortable scent of burning oak and applewood. Your carefully achieved complexion immediately proves its worth in this lighting. The pale foundation you spent hours perfecting this morning seems to gather and reflect the warm candlelight, creating exactly the luminous effect that medieval beauty culture prizes. You catch sight of yourself in one of the polished metal serving pieces and realize that your face appears to glow softly, as if lit from within, the perfect manifestation of the ethereal feminine ideal your society values above all else. Meanwhile, you begin to notice how the evening's lighting affects the other young women present. Some complexions that might appear attractive in daylight seem washed out or sallow under the golden glow of candles and firelight. Others, like your friend Agnes, have achieved a warm radiance that suggests her family's beauty preparations were specifically calibrated for evening social events. The variations in cosmetic success become a subtle but unmistakable marker of which families truly understand sophisticated beauty culture. Your father guides your family toward the seating area assigned to merchants of your particular status and trading specialization, and you begin the complex social choreography of greeting other families, acknowledging their presence according to the precise protocols that govern medieval social interaction. Each greeting involves subtle calculations about status, recent business relationships, and potential future alliances. But then you notice something that makes your pulse quicken slightly. The Zimmerman family, whom your father mentioned earlier, has arrived and taken their place at a table positioned to command an excellent view of the entire hall. Their eldest son, the young man recently returned from his trading journey to Flanders, is indeed present, and his appearance suggests both prosperity and sophistication that would represent a valuable marriage alliance for any merchant family. What captures your attention isn't just his obvious eligibility, but the way his presence changes the social dynamics of the entire gathering. You can see other families with marriageable daughters making similar observations, noting his arrival, positioning themselves strategically for potential interactions. The evening has suddenly acquired an undercurrent of competition that wasn't apparent when you were focusing solely on your own preparations. Your mother, with the social intelligence that comes from decades of navigating medieval urban politics, immediately begins adjusting your family's evening strategy. She suggests modifications to your planned seating arrangement, mentions specific topics of conversation that might prove interesting to discuss if opportunities arise, and subtly reviews the social connections that could facilitate appropriate introductions. The musicians begin playing, filling the hall with the complex harmonies of medieval music that will provide a backdrop for the evening's social interactions. The melodies are unfamiliar to modern ears, built on scales and rhythms that reflect the musical theories of your time, but they create an atmosphere of elegance and celebration that enhances the golden glow of candlelight and the rich textures of fine clothing. As the evening's formal activities begin, you realize that this feast represents more than just seasonal celebration. It's a crucial moment in the ongoing social and economic life of your community. The marriage negotiations that might begin tonight could influence business relationships for decades to come, creating alliances that span generations and reshape the political landscape of medieval urban life. Your appearance tonight serves as the opening move in these complex negotiations. The hours you spent this morning achieving perfect golden hair, the afternoon dedicated to your face treatment, the careful evening application of cosmetics designed to flatter candlelight, all of this preparation has been leading to this moment when you take your place in the sophisticated social drama of medieval merchant society. The feast officially begins with formal toasts to the guild's prosperity, to successful trading ventures, and to the continued health and fortune of all the families present. As you raise your cup of spiced wine, you can feel the weight of tradition settling around your shoulders, connecting you to centuries of similar gatherings where young women used beauty, grace, and social intelligence to navigate the complex world of medieval marriage and alliance. As the evening unfolds around you, you find yourself drawing on every lesson your mother and other older women have taught you about navigating complex social situations while maintaining the perfect presentation you've worked so hard to achieve. The guild hall's warmth is causing some of your cosmetics to behave differently than they do in the controlled environment of your chamber, and you must make subtle adjustments without appearing to fuss with your appearance. Your face powder, despite its careful application this afternoon, shows signs of settling into a slightly different pattern under the influence of the hall's humid air and your own nervous perspiration. Using the small cloth you carry in your cosmetic kit, you manage to make discreet touch-ups during moments when attention is focused elsewhere. When the musicians pause between songs, when other families are greeting new arrivals, when the servers are distributing the evening's elaborate courses, the social skills you've been developing since childhood prove just as important as your physical beauty in managing the evening's challenges. When Agnes's mother facilitates an introduction to the Zimmerman family, you must demonstrate not just your attractive appearance, but your understanding of appropriate conversation topics, your knowledge of current trade relationships, and your familiarity with the cultural and social references that mark a properly educated merchant daughter. Your response to the young Zimmerman son requires particularly careful calibration. You need to appear interested enough to encourage further conversation, but modest enough to demonstrate proper moral character. Your beauty preparations provide the foundation for this interaction, but success depends on your ability to balance confidence with humility, intelligence with deference, personal appeal with family loyalty. Meanwhile, you're acutely aware of how the evening's lighting continues to affect your appearance throughout the night. The golden glow of candles and firelight proves generally flattering to your pale complexion and golden hair, but you notice that certain angles and positions in the hall create shadows that could diminish the effect you've worked so hard to achieve. Learning to position yourself advantageously becomes part of the complex choreography of medieval social interaction. Your internal response to these challenges reveals the sophisticated understanding of beauty culture that you've developed through years of practice and observation. Rather than feeling anxious about the need for constant attention to your appearance, you experience a kind of focused satisfaction in managing these details successfully. The ability to maintain perfect presentation while engaging in complex social interaction represents the highest level of medieval feminine accomplishment. You also find yourself observing the other young women present with the expert eye of someone who understands the techniques and challenges involved in achieving medieval beauty standards. Some have clearly mastered the same sophisticated approaches your family employs, while others reveal through small details, slightly uneven cosmetic application, hair that's losing its carefully arranged structure, or clothing that suggests less expensive materials, the varying levels of prosperity and expertise within your social circle. When the dancing begins, you face the ultimate test of your evening's preparation. Medieval dances require energetic movement that could disturb carefully arranged hair, physical exertion that might affect your cosmetics, and close interaction with potential marriage partners that puts your beauty preparations under the most intense scrutiny possible. Your response to these challenges demonstrates not just your physical attractiveness, but your mastery of the complex arts of medieval femininity. Throughout the evening, you maintain an awareness of representing not just yourself, but your entire family, carrying their reputation and aspirations in your carefully prepared appearance and graceful behavior. Throughout the complex social navigation of the guild feast, you're supported by networks of assistants that operate both visibly and behind the scenes, helping you maintain your carefully achieved appearance while managing the sophisticated demands of medieval social interaction. Your mother remains your primary guide, using subtle gestures and meaningful glances to communicate advice about social positioning, conversation topics, and opportunities for advantageous interactions without appearing to coach or control your behavior. Agnes and her mother provide another layer of support, sharing information about the other families present and offering discreet assistance with small cosmetic adjustments that might be needed as the evening progresses. Medieval women understand that maintaining perfect appearance throughout a long social event requires cooperative effort, and they've developed systems of mutual assistance that allow them to help each other without drawing unwanted attention to the process. The servants working the feast also contribute to your support network in ways that might not be immediately obvious. The young women serving wine and clearing tables are often daughters of families connected to your social circle, and they can provide valuable information about conversations they overhear, social dynamics they observe, and the general reputation your family's presentation is creating among the other guests. Even your father and his business associates contribute to your evening's success by managing the broader social and economic context within which your personal interactions take place. Their conversations about trade relationships, political developments, and business opportunities create a backdrop that supports the marriage negotiations your appearance might facilitate. The guild hall itself provides crucial support through its physical environment, the warm lighting that flatters your complexion, the elegant decorations that create an appropriate backdrop for displaying sophisticated beauty culture, the comfortable seating arrangements that allow for the complex social choreography that medieval courtship requires. These multiple layers of support reflect the understanding that achieving success in medieval social situations requires more than individual effort. It demands the coordinated assistance of entire family and community networks working together to create opportunities for the next generation to form the marriages and alliances that will shape their society's future. The effectiveness of these support systems becomes clear as the evening progresses and you begin to see positive responses to your carefully prepared presentation, suggesting that all the effort invested in your beauty routine and social preparation is beginning to produce the desired results. As the evening reaches its social peak, with the dancing in full swing and conversations flowing as freely as the spiced wine, you face the most demanding test of both your beauty preparations and your social skills. The young Zimmerman merchant approaches your family's table with the formal courtesy that medieval etiquette requires, but his interest in continuing the conversation you began earlier is unmistakably genuine. This moment represents everything your day of preparation has been building toward. a potential courtship interaction that could reshape your family's economic and social position for generations. The challenge is managing this crucial conversation while maintaining the perfect appearance you've worked so hard to achieve. The Guildhall's warmth has intensified as the evening progressed, with dozens of bodies, countless candles, and the great fireplace creating an atmosphere that tests the staying power of your carefully applied cosmetics. You can feel a light, perspiration beginning to form beneath your face powder, and you must find ways to manage this without appearing to fuss with your appearance or drawing attention to the artificial nature of your beauty preparations. Your hair presents its own challenges. The elaborate style you spent hours perfecting this afternoon was designed to withstand the normal activities of a formal social gathering, but the energetic dancing and the humid air of the crowded hall are beginning to loosen some of the carefully pinned sections. Using the reflective surface of a silver serving piece, you catch glimpses of small strands escaping their arrangement, requiring discreet adjustments that must be made without interrupting the flow of conversation or appearing vain. The most delicate challenge involves managing your cosmetics under close scrutiny. When the young Zimmerman merchant invites you to join a particular dance that will require face-to-face interaction at close range, you must trust that your morning's careful application of face powder, rouge, and kohl will withstand this level of examination. The dance itself presents additional risks. The physical exertion could cause you to perspire enough to disturb your cosmetics, while the spinning movements could affect your carefully arranged hair. You navigate these challenges by drawing on years of training in the subtle arts of medieval self-presentation. Rather than appearing anxious about maintaining your appearance, you develop a kind of graceful awareness that allows you to make necessary adjustments as part of the natural rhythm of social interaction. When you pause to sip wine, you use the moment to discreetly check your reflection. When conversations lull during the dancing, you make quick touches to ensure your hair remains properly arranged. The social aspect of the challenge proves just as demanding as the physical maintenance of your appearance. Medieval courtship operates according to complex rules about appropriate topics of conversation, proper levels of interest and encouragement, and the delicate balance between personal appeal and family loyalty. You must demonstrate your intelligence and education while remaining modest, show interest in potential marriage negotiations while avoiding any appearance of unseemly eagerness. Your responses to these challenges reveal the sophisticated understanding of medieval social dynamics that you've developed through years of observation and training. When the conversation turns to your family's trading relationships, you demonstrate knowledge of commercial matters without appearing unwomanly. When questions arise about your domestic skills and cultural accomplishments, you provide evidence of your competence without seeming boastful. Most importantly, you manage to present yourself as someone who understands her role in the complex web of relationships that govern medieval urban society. Throughout these demanding interactions, you maintain awareness of how your carefully achieved beauty is performing under real-world conditions, making tiny adjustments and corrections that allow you to sustain the perfect presentation that this crucial social opportunity requires. The broader community gathered in the Guildhall responds to the evening's developing courtship drama with the sophisticated understanding of people who recognize the significance of what they're witnessing. Medieval society operates as an interconnected network where individual marriage negotiations affect entire communities, and the potential alliance between your family and the Zimmermans has implications that extend far beyond personal attraction or romantic attachment. The older women present watch your interactions with the expert eyes of people who have navigated similar situations themselves and understand the delicate balance of social forces at play. Your mother's friends offer subtle support through meaningful glances and discreet positioning, that help facilitate your conversations while ensuring that everything appears natural and unforced. They've created an invisible network of assistants that operates through shared glances, strategic positioning, and the kind of non-verbal communication that develops among women who understand the challenges of medieval social navigation. The men of your father's generation observed these proceedings, with their own interests in mind. The potential marriage alliance represents more than just personal compatibility. It could influence trading relationships, guild politics, and the complex web of economic connections that determine prosperity in medieval urban society. Their conversations, while ostensibly focused on business matters, frequently return to observations about family compatibility, economic prospects, and the wisdom of various potential alliances. Even the younger generation responds to the evenings, developing dynamics with interest and calculation. The other unmarried young women present understand that your success or failure in attracting favorable attention could affect their own marriage prospects, either by setting new standards for beauty and behavior or by removing a potential competitor. From consideration, their responses range from supportive encouragement to subtle competitiveness, creating an undercurrent of social complexity that adds depth to the evening's interactions. The servants and musicians, while maintaining their professional roles, also contribute to the community response through their discreet observations and later conversations. Medieval society's interconnected nature means that news of successful social interactions spreads quickly through multiple social networks, helping to build or diminish reputations based on performance at crucial social events like tonight's Guild Feast. The guild leadership itself responds to the evening's social developments with approval that reflects their understanding of how strong family alliances contribute to the overall stability and prosperity of their commercial community. Successful marriages between prominent merchant families create the social foundation that supports economic cooperation, political stability, and the intergenerational transfer of wealth and knowledge that keeps medieval urban society functioning effectively. This community response creates a supportive environment that encourages the development of appropriate courtship relationships while maintaining the social standards and behavioral expectations that govern medieval marriage negotiations. The collective wisdom of the community helps guide individual interactions toward outcomes that benefit not just the families directly involved, but the broader social and economic interests of the merchant class as a whole. As the evening moved toward its natural conclusion, with the candles burning lower and the conversations becoming more intimate and relaxed, you begin to sense that your day of elaborate beauty preparations has achieved its intended purpose. The young Zimmerman merchant has requested not just one dance but several, and his family has initiated the kind of discreet inquiries about your background, education, and domestic skills that typically precede formal marriage negotiations. Your appearance has proven remarkably durable throughout the demanding evening. The face powder that you applied so carefully this afternoon has maintained its pale, luminous quality despite the heat and humidity of the crowded hall. Your hair, though requiring occasional discreet adjustments, has retained its golden gleam, an elegant arrangement well enough to continue creating the impression of carefully maintained beauty that medieval society values so highly. Most importantly, you've successfully demonstrated that your physical attractiveness is supported by the social intelligence, cultural knowledge, and graceful behavior that medieval families require in potential daughters-in-law. Your beauty preparations provided the foundation, but your ability to maintain perfect presentation while engaging in sophisticated conversation has proven that you possess the complete package of accomplishments that makes young women valuable marriage partners in your society. The resolution begins to unfold through a series of seemingly casual interactions that actually represent careful diplomatic maneuvering between the two families. Your father and the elder Zimmerman engage in conversations about trading prospects that gradually incorporate subtle inquiries about family values, economic stability, and mutual interests that could support a marriage alliance. These business discussions create the framework within which more personal considerations can be explored. Your mother and the Zimmerman matriarch find opportunities for private conversation that allows them to assess compatibility in domestic management styles, religious observance, and the cultural values that would need to align for a successful marriage. Medieval women understand that their evaluation of potential family connections is just as important as the men's assessment of economic and political advantages. Meanwhile, your continued interactions with the young merchant himself reveal growing mutual interest that appears to be based on genuine compatibility rather than just social obligation. Your beauty preparations attracted his initial attention, but your conversations have demonstrated intellectual compatibility, shared cultural values, and the kind of personal appeal that could develop into the affectionate partnership that represents the ideal of medieval marriage among the merchant class. The evening's social dynamics have also created a broader sense of resolution within the community gathered for the feast. Other families observe the developing relationship with approval that reflects their understanding of how strong marriages between prominent households contribute to the overall stability and prosperity of their social network. The potential alliance represents the kind of positive development that benefits everyone by strengthening the community's economic and social foundations. As the musicians begin playing the quieter melodies that traditionally signal the approaching end of such gatherings, you find yourself feeling a deep satisfaction that goes beyond the immediate success of the evening's social interactions. Your mastery of medieval beauty culture has proven itself under the most demanding circumstances, demonstrating that the hours of daily preparation, the complex techniques, and even the health risks associated with your cosmetic routine serve important purposes in the larger framework of medieval social organization. The resolution that's beginning to emerge tonight represents more than just personal romantic success. It demonstrates the effectiveness of the entire system of medieval feminine education that has prepared you for this moment. The beauty treatments passed down through generations of women, the social skills taught by mothers and older female relatives, the cultural knowledge acquired through years of observation and practice, all of these elements have combined to create an outcome that benefits not just yourself, but your entire family and community. As the evening draws toward its close and families begin preparing for departure, you can see in your mother's satisfied expression and your father's pleased demeanor that tonight's events have exceeded their expectations, creating opportunities for family advancement that justify all the investment of time, resources, and effort that medieval beauty culture requires. In the quiet moments, as families begin gathering their belongings and preparing for departure from the guild hall, you find yourself reflecting on the extraordinary journey that brought you to this successful evening. This morning feels like weeks ago when you began the day with cold water and harsh soap in your chamber, starting the elaborate beauty routine that has culminated in tonight's social triumph. The transformation you've undergone extends far beyond the physical changes achieved through cosmetics and hair treatments. You've successfully navigated one of the most challenging social situations that medieval young women face, demonstrating mastery not just of beauty culture, but of the complex social intelligence that governs successful courtship interactions. The confidence you feel now represents a significant milestone in your development as a medieval woman capable of managing the sophisticated demands of merchant-class marriage and family leadership. Your reflection includes a deep appreciation for the generations of women who developed and refined the beauty techniques you employed today. From the mysterious trotula of Salerno, whose recipes guided your hair treatments and cosmetic preparations, to your own mother and the other women in your family who taught you the practical skills needed to achieve consistent results. You feel connected to a long tradition of feminine knowledge and expertise that transcends individual experience. The health risks you accepted in pursuit of today's beauty standards now seem not just reasonable, but wise, given the social and economic benefits that appear to be emerging from tonight's interactions. The lead in your face powder, the caustic lye in your hair treatments, the various toxic substances that medieval beauty culture considers normal. These dangers feel manageable when weighed against the opportunity to secure a marriage alliance that could provide prosperity and security for the rest of your life. You also reflect on the remarkable sophistication of medieval beauty culture, the way seemingly simple cosmetic preparations actually represent complex understanding of chemistry, psychology, and social dynamics. The techniques you've mastered require not just knowledge of ingredients and procedures, but sophisticated judgment about timing, proportions, and the subtle adjustments needed to achieve optimal results under varying conditions. Most significantly, you recognize that tonight's success represents validation of the entire medieval approach to feminine development, which integrates physical beauty with social intelligence, cultural knowledge, and practical skills in ways that create women capable of contributing meaningfully to their families and communities. Your beauty preparations were never just about vanity or personal satisfaction. They were about developing the complete package of accomplishments that enables young women to fulfill their roles in the complex social and economic systems that govern medieval urban life. As you gather your cosmetic kit and prepare to leave the guild hall, you feel a profound sense of accomplishment that encompasses not just tonight's social success, but your broader mastery of the challenging arts of medieval femininity that will serve you throughout the rest of your life. The journey back to your family's house through the quiet autumn streets provides a perfect opportunity to absorb the significance of the evening's events. Your father's satisfied conversation with your mother about the positive responses from the Zimmerman family, the discreet inquiries that were made about your education and domestic skills, and the clear interest expressed in continuing social contact all point toward the successful beginning of formal courtship negotiations. Your carefully maintained appearance has survived the demanding evening remarkably well. Though your face powder shows some signs of the night's social exertions and your hair requires attention from the dancing and warm atmosphere of the guild hall, the fundamental structure of your beauty preparations has proven both durable and effective. The golden gleam of your hair still catches the moonlight filtering through the cart's canopy, and your complexion retains that luminous quality that marked you throughout the evening as a young woman of refinement and virtue. As you settle back into the familiar rhythm of household life, removing your fine clothing and beginning the process of caring for the cosmetic preparations that served you so well tonight, you find yourself seeing these daily beauty routines from a completely new perspective. What seemed this morning like elaborate, time-consuming rituals now appear as sophisticated technologies for social and economic advancement, carefully developed systems that enable young women to achieve goals that extend far beyond personal vanity. The face treatments that must be removed and reapplied, the hair preparations that require careful maintenance, the various cosmetic elements that need daily attention, all of these now feel less like burdensome requirements and more like valuable skills that you've successfully mastered. Tonight proved that your months and years of practice in medieval beauty culture have prepared you to compete effectively in the sophisticated social marketplace where marriages are negotiated and family alliances are formed. Your mother helps. You remove the evening's cosmetic layers with the same careful attention she brought to their application, but her movements carry a new sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. The investment your family has made in your beauty education The expensive ingredients, the time spent in instruction, the resources dedicated to maintaining your appearance at the highest possible level, has begun to show concrete returns in the form of serious interest from one of the region's most prosperous merchant families. The ordinary activities of preparing for sleep take on a different quality tonight. Washing your face with cold water and harsh soap, braiding your hair for protection during sleep, applying the simple overnight treatments that will maintain your skin's condition for tomorrow's routine. These familiar tasks now feel like the foundation practices of someone who has proven her mastery of medieval feminine arts under the most demanding possible circumstances. You settle into your bed with a sense of completion that encompasses not just tonight's social success, but your broader development as a young woman capable of navigating the complex demands of medieval society. The elaborate beauty routine that began before dawn has culminated in social opportunities that could determine the entire direction of your adult life. Your successful evening at the Guild Feast connects you to historical forces and cultural developments that extend far beyond your individual experience or even your immediate community. The beauty practices you've mastered represent knowledge that has been accumulating for centuries, drawing from sources as diverse as ancient Roman cosmetic traditions, Islamic medical advances, and the innovative approaches developed in medieval centers of learning, like Salerno, where the mysterious Trotula first compiled the recipes that still guide your daily routines. The economic prosperity that makes your elaborate beauty preparations possible reflects the broader transformation of medieval European society during the 12th and 13th centuries. The growth of trade routes connecting your German town to markets across the continent, the development of banking systems that facilitate long-distance commerce, and the emergence of urban merchant classes with disposable income for luxury goods. All of these historical developments create the context within which families like yours can invest significant resources in cosmetic preparations and beauty culture. Your beauty routine also reflects the complex interaction between Christian religious values and secular social practices that characterizes medieval culture. The Church's official disapproval of artificial enhancement coexists with a practical understanding that appropriate presentation serves important social functions within Christian communities. The recipes you follow often incorporate ingredients with religious symbolic value: lilies, representing purity, roses suggesting divine love, creating beauty practices that align with spiritual values while serving secular purposes. The specific ingredients available for your cosmetic preparations tell the story of medieval trade networks that span continents. The white lead that creates your pale complexion comes from mining operations that may be hundreds of miles away. The exotic oils used in your hair treatments arrive through trading relationships that connect your German town to Mediterranean ports and beyond. Even the spices and herbs in your cosmetic recipes represent the complex web of commercial relationships that brings products from across the known world to your family's cosmetic box. The social context within which your beauty practices operate reflects the particular nature of medieval urban society, where merchant families occupy a middle position between the aristocracy and the laboring classes. Your beauty standards draw inspiration from aristocratic ideals while remaining attainable through commercial success rather than inherited noble status. This creates a distinctive merchant class approach to beauty that emphasizes sophistication and expense while maintaining some distance from the more extreme practices associated with noble courts. Your evening's success also demonstrates how medieval marriage practices serve functions that extend far beyond individual romantic satisfaction. The alliance that may develop between your family and the Zimmermans represents a strategic partnership that could influence trade relationships, political connections, and economic opportunities for generations to come. Medieval society understands marriage as a cornerstone of social organization, that requires careful negotiation based on compatibility in values, economic prospects, and family reputation. The beauty culture you've mastered reflects medieval understanding of the relationship between physical appearance and moral character that differs significantly from modern perspectives. Your pale complexion, golden hair, and refined presentation don't just make you attractive, they communicate specific messages about your family's prosperity, your personal virtue, and your suitability for marriage within the merchant community. The techniques themselves represent a remarkable synthesis of practical knowledge and cultural values that has been developing for generations. The recipes passed down from mother to daughter, refined through trial and error, adapted to local ingredients and changing fashion. This represents a sophisticated system of knowledge preservation and innovation that operates entirely within feminine cultural networks. Tonight's Guild Feast also illustrates how medieval communities create opportunities for the complex social negotiations that govern marriage and alliance formation. These gatherings serve multiple functions simultaneously, celebrating seasonal prosperity, reinforcing community bonds, facilitating business relationships, and providing appropriate venues for courtship interactions that require public visibility while maintaining proper decorum. Your personal experience thus connects to historical development spanning centuries and continents, reflecting the complex interplay of economic, social, religious, and cultural forces that shape medieval European society during one of its most dynamic and transformative periods. The beauty practices you've mastered and demonstrated tonight carry cultural significance that extends far beyond their immediate practical applications, representing a sophisticated system of knowledge and values that reveals important truths about medieval society's understanding of gender, class, and social organization. Your successful navigation of the Guild Feast demonstrates how medieval women developed complex strategies for exercising agency and influence within social structures that might appear restrictive to modern observers. The elaborate nature of your beauty routine reflects medieval society's understanding that appropriate feminine presentation requires significant skill, knowledge, and investment. This isn't simply about vanity or superficial appearance. It's about demonstrating mastery of cultural codes that communicate essential information about family status, personal virtue, and social competence. Your ability to achieve and maintain perfect presentation under demanding social circumstances proves your readiness to assume the responsibilities of adult womanhood within merchant-class society. The specific beauty standards you embody, the pale complexion, golden hair, high forehead, and carefully modulated use of color, represent a distinctive medieval aesthetic that draws from religious symbolism while serving secular social functions. These standards create a visual language that allows people to assess social position, family prosperity, and personal virtue through careful observation of appearance and presentation. The collaborative nature of medieval beauty culture, evident in the networks of support that helped you succeed tonight, reflects broader patterns of feminine cooperation and knowledge sharing that operate alongside and sometimes in opposition to male-dominated institutional structures. The recipes, techniques, and social intelligence that enabled your success represent centuries of accumulated feminine wisdom that's preserved and transmitted through informal but highly effective educational systems. Your evening's triumph also demonstrates how medieval beauty culture serves important economic functions within urban commercial society. The marriage alliance that may develop from tonight's interactions could influence business relationships for generations, creating economic partnerships that strengthen the entire merchant community. This illustrates how personal beauty serves broader social and economic purposes that benefit entire communities rather than just individuals. The health risks you've accepted in pursuit of medieval beauty standards reflect cultural values that prioritize social achievement over individual safety in ways that modern people might find difficult to understand. Your willingness to use toxic cosmetic ingredients represents a calculated decision that the social benefits of meeting beauty standards outweigh the potential health consequences. A choice that makes sense within medieval social and economic contexts, even if it appears dangerous from modern perspectives. The sophistication of the beauty techniques you've mastered also reveals medieval society's capacity for complex technical innovation within cultural domains that might be overlooked by historians focused primarily on political and economic developments. The chemistry involved in creating effective cosmetic preparations, the understanding of how different lighting conditions affect appearance, the social intelligence required to navigate complex courtship protocols, these represent genuine, intellectual and practical achievements that demonstrate the richness and complexity of medieval cultural life. Tonight's experience offers profound insights into the eternal human struggle between acceptance and transformation, between working with natural gifts and pushing beyond their limitations through creativity, effort, and willingness to accept risks in pursuit of desired outcomes. Your elaborate beauty routine represents one approach to this universal challenge, the medieval solution to questions about self-presentation, social positioning, and the role of physical appearance in achieving life goals. The countless hours you've invested in mastering cosmetic techniques, the daily attention required to maintain perfect presentation, the expensive ingredients and sometimes dangerous procedures you've embraced. All of this reflects a fundamentally optimistic worldview that believes human effort can meaningfully improve natural circumstances. Medieval beauty culture operates on the assumption that dedicated work, proper knowledge, and appropriate investment can transform raw material into something approaching perfection. Yet your experience also reveals the complex relationship between individual agency and social constraint that characterizes all human societies. Your beauty practices simultaneously represent personal choice and social compulsion, individual creativity and cultural conformity, self-expression and family obligation. You've chosen to embrace elaborate beauty routines, but this choice operates within a social context that makes such practices virtually mandatory for young women of your class and circumstances. The risks you've accepted in pursuit of beauty standards raise profound questions about the prices people are willing to pay for social acceptance and advancement. Your use of toxic cosmetic ingredients, your endurance of painful procedures, your investment of enormous amounts of time and energy, these sacrifices illustrate how strongly human beings desire to feel attractive, accepted, and valued by their communities, even when the costs are high and the benefits uncertain. Your successful evening also demonstrates how beauty practices can serve as vehicles for developing and displaying broader human capacities. The social intelligence required to navigate complex courtship interactions, the technical skill needed to achieve consistent cosmetic results, the cultural knowledge necessary to understand and embody aesthetic ideals, these represent genuine human accomplishments that extend far beyond simple physical enhancement. The collaborative nature of medieval beauty culture reflects deeper truths about human sociality and the ways people create networks of mutual support and knowledge sharing. The older women who taught you cosmetic techniques, the friends who shared beauty secrets, the family members who supported your social development, these relationships demonstrate how individual achievement depends on community resources and collective wisdom. Perhaps most significantly, your experience illustrates how beauty practices can serve as expressions of hope and aspiration that transcend immediate circumstances. Your elaborate preparations for tonight's feast represented an investment in possible futures, a statement of faith that effort and presentation could create opportunities for advancement and happiness. Even when the specific techniques seem strange or dangerous from modern perspectives, the underlying human impulses remain recognizable and admirable. The cultural knowledge you've mastered also reflects humanity's remarkable capacity for creating meaning and significance through shared symbols and practices. Your pale complexion, golden hair, and refined presentation carry messages that extend far beyond simple physical attraction. They communicate complex information about values, aspirations, and social positioning that helps people navigate the challenging work of building relationships and forming communities. Your evening's success ultimately demonstrates the persistent human capacity for adaptation, creativity, and resilience in the face of complex social demands, showing how people in every era find ways to work within their historical circumstances while pursuing universal goals of connection, recognition, and fulfillment. As your successful evening gradually fades into memory and you settle into the comfortable rhythm of sleep, the distance between your medieval world and our modern era begins to feel simultaneously vast and surprisingly small. The specific techniques you've mastered, the lye hair treatments, the lead-based cosmetics, the painful plucking procedures, represent approaches to beauty that modern people would find both fascinating and alarming. Yet the underlying human desires that drove your elaborate beauty routine remain remarkably constant across the centuries. The wish to feel attractive and confident, the hope of creating favorable impressions, the dream of using personal appeal to achieve security and happiness. These motivations resonate just as strongly in contemporary bedrooms, where modernly people apply scientifically formulated cosmetics as they did in your medieval chamber with its harsh soaps and toxic powders. The social intelligence you demonstrated tonight, the careful balance between confidence and modesty, the understanding of how to present yourself effectively within your cultural context. These skills translate remarkably well across historical periods, even as the specific techniques and standards change dramatically. Modern people facing important social situations can learn from your approach to preparation, presentation, and the subtle arts of making favorable impressions. Perhaps most importantly, your experience demonstrates the eternal human capacity for finding meaning, beauty, and satisfaction within whatever historical circumstances we encounter, showing how people in every era create rich, complex lives filled with achievement, aspiration, and the pursuit of happiness. Regardless of the particular challenges and opportunities their time and place provide, your medieval beauty routine reminds us that the fundamental human experiences of growth, learning, social connection, and personal transformation remain constant, even as the specific methods and contexts change across the centuries. The beauty practices you experienced tonight as Marguerite connect to fascinating historical developments that rippled across medieval Europe and beyond, creating networks of knowledge and cultural exchange that shaped feminine experience for centuries to come. The trotula texts that guided your cosmetic preparations represent just one example of how medical knowledge traveled along the same trade routes that brought exotic spices and precious metals to northern European markets. Salerno, where these influential beauty recipes originated, occupied a unique position in medieval intellectual life as a meeting point between Islamic, Byzantine, and Western European medical traditions. The scholars working there had access to ancient Greek and Roman texts that had been preserved and expanded upon by Islamic physicians, creating a synthesis of knowledge that wouldn't have been possible in any other location. When women like the mysterious Trotula compiled their cosmetic advice, they were drawing from this remarkable confluence of medical and cultural wisdom. The influence of these Salernitan texts spread through networks that modern people might find surprisingly sophisticated. Manuscripts were copied by hand in monastery scriptoriums, carried by traveling merchants, and shared among the noble and merchant families who could afford such luxuries. Each copy represented weeks of careful work by skilled scribes, making these beauty manuals valuable possessions that were treasured and carefully preserved across generations. Meanwhile, in other parts of medieval Europe, different approaches to beauty and self-care were developing based on local traditions and available resources. In Byzantine territories, cosmetic practices drew heavily from ancient Greek and Roman traditions, while in Islamic Spain, beauty culture incorporated ingredients and techniques from North African and Middle Eastern sources. These regional variations created a rich tapestry of approaches to feminine enhancement that gradually influenced each other through trade and cultural exchange. The archaeological evidence for medieval beauty culture continues to emerge as modern excavations uncover cosmetic kits, mirror fragments, and the remains of cosmetic preparations in sites across Europe. The Erfurt treasure that contained your cosmetic implements represents just one example of how wealthy medieval families invested in beautiful, durable beauty tools that were designed to last for generations. Similar finds from London, Paris, and other medieval cities reveal that sophisticated beauty culture was widespread among urban merchant classes throughout medieval Europe. The economic impact of medieval beauty culture extended far beyond individual families like yours. The demand for exotic cosmetic ingredients created entire trading networks that brought materials from distant lands. White lead from England, exotic oils from the Mediterranean, precious spices from Asia that could be used in cosmetic preparations as well as cooking. These beauty-related trade relationships often provided the economic foundation for broader commercial partnerships that shaped medieval European commerce. The religious context surrounding medieval beauty practices also created interesting tensions and accommodations that reveal much about medieval attitudes toward the body, virtue, and social presentation. Church leaders regularly preached against excessive attention to physical appearance, but they also recognized that appropriate presentation served important social functions within Christian communities. This led to subtle distinctions between acceptable and unacceptable levels of cosmetic enhancement that varied considerably across regions and social classes. The artistic representations of beauty from medieval Europe, the illuminated manuscripts, painted panels, and sculptural works that survive today provide another window into how these beauty standards were understood and celebrated. The pale complexions, golden hair, and refined features that you worked so hard to achieve tonight appear repeatedly in religious art, secular portraits, and decorative objects, suggesting that these ideals held deep cultural significance beyond simple fashion trends. The preservation and transmission of beauty knowledge through feminine networks also represents a remarkable example of how medieval women created and maintained sophisticated educational systems outside formal institutional structures. Mothers taught daughters, friends shared discoveries, and communities of women collaborated to refine and improve cosmetic techniques across generations, creating bodies of practical knowledge that rivaled the formal medical training available to men. These historical connections remind us that tonight's experience, while deeply personal and specific to your time and place, also represents part of much larger patterns of human cultural development that connected medieval Europe to broader streams of knowledge, trade, and cultural exchange that shaped the course of human civilization. The beauty practices you mastered connect to similar traditions across medieval cultures in ways that reveal fascinating patterns of human creativity and cultural exchange. While you were perfecting your pale complexion and golden hair in 14th century Germany, women in other parts of the world were developing their own sophisticated approaches to enhancement and self-presentation that shared surprising similarities despite vast differences in geography, religion, and available resources. In medieval Japan, court ladies were pursuing their own version of extreme paleness, using rice powder and other plant-based cosmetics to achieve complexions so white they appeared almost luminous. Like your lead-based face powder, these preparations required daily application and carried their own health risks, but they served similar social functions in marking status, virtue, and marriageability within aristocratic circles. The elaborate hair arrangements of Japanese court culture, with their complex systems of pins, ornaments, and styling techniques, paralleled the time-intensive hair treatments that occupied so much of your morning routine. Medieval Islamic cultures developed particularly sophisticated approaches to cosmetics and personal care, building on ancient Persian, Egyptian, and Byzantine traditions while incorporating new ingredients and techniques discovered through extensive trade networks. Islamic medical texts from this period describe cosmetic preparations that share ingredients with the trochila recipes you followed: rosewater, various plant-based dyes, mineral-based face powders, suggesting that beauty knowledge traveled along the same routes that carried spices, textiles, and other luxury goods. Byzantine court culture maintained direct connections to ancient Roman beauty traditions while developing new approaches that influenced neighboring regions. The elaborate cosmetic rituals of Byzantine empresses involved ingredients imported from across the known world, creating beauty practices that rivaled and sometimes surpassed the sophistication of what you experience tonight. These traditions influenced both Islamic and Western European approaches to beauty through diplomatic marriages, trade relationships, and cultural exchange. Even in regions with less documented beauty traditions, archaeological evidence suggests that medieval women everywhere developed creative approaches to enhancement using locally available materials. Celtic and Germanic tribes that preceded urban medieval culture had their own traditions of body modification, tattooing, and cosmetic enhancement that influenced later medieval practices. The continuity between ancient tribal beauty customs and medieval urban sophistication suggests deep human impulses towards self-decoration and social signaling through appearance. The shared elements across these diverse beauty cultures, the emphasis on pale skin in many traditions, the use of plant and mineral-based cosmetics, the elaborate hair arrangements, the integration of fragrance and color, suggest that certain approaches to beauty represent responses to universal human needs and desires rather than arbitrary cultural preferences. The risks women were willing to accept, the time they invested, the resources they dedicated to beauty practices. These patterns appear consistently across medieval cultures, regardless of religious or political differences. What's particularly striking is how medieval beauty practices often incorporated elements that served practical as well as aesthetic functions. Many cosmetic preparations doubled as medical treatments, fragrances helped mask the odors of pre-industrial life, and elaborate grooming routines provided structured activities that strengthened social bonds between women across generations. This integration of beauty with practical life needs created cultural traditions that were remarkably durable and adaptable across different societies and historical circumstances. These cultural connections remind us that your evening's success represents just one example of the universal human capacity for creating meaning, beauty, and social connection through shared aesthetic practices that transcend individual cultures while serving fundamental human needs for recognition, acceptance, and community belonging. The dedication you showed to achieving perfect medieval beauty standards finds remarkable echoes in contemporary culture, where people continue to invest enormous amounts of time, money, and effort in pursuit of physical ideals that serve similar social and psychological functions. Modern skincare routines, with their complex sequences of cleansers, treatments, and protective products, require the same kind of daily dedication and technical knowledge that your medieval cosmetic preparations demanded. The health risks you accepted in using lead-based cosmetics and caustic hair treatments parallel the choices modern people make when they undergo cosmetic procedures, use products with potentially harmful ingredients, or follow extreme diet and exercise regimens in pursuit of contemporary beauty standards. The calculation you made balancing immediate risks against long-term social benefits, reflects the same kind of decision-making that characterizes modern beauty culture, even though the specific risks and benefits have changed dramatically. Contemporary social media culture creates pressures for perfect presentation that mirror the scrutiny you faced at tonight's Guild Feast, where your appearance was evaluated by an entire community whose opinions could affect your family's social and economic prospects. Modern people preparing for important social events invest similar levels of effort in achieving flawless appearance, using scientific advances to accomplish goals that aren't fundamentally different from yours. The collaborative nature of medieval beauty culture, evident in the networks of women who shared knowledge and supported each other's efforts, continues in modern beauty communities where people exchange product recommendations, technique tutorials, and emotional support through both digital and in-person relationships. The same impulse that led your mother and friends to help you achieve perfect presentation drives contemporary beauty influencers, salon professionals, and friend networks that help people navigate modern aesthetic challenges. The economic significance of your beauty routine, representing a substantial family investment with potential returns through advantageous marriage, parallels how modern people calculate the costs and benefits of appearance-related spending. Whether it's professional wardrobe investments, cosmetic procedures, or fitness memberships, contemporary people make similar decisions about allocating resources toward appearance enhancement that could provide social and economic advantages. Even the specific techniques you used have modern equivalents that serve identical functions. Hair bleaching treatments have become safer, but serve the same purpose of achieving fashionable coloring. Face powders and foundations create the same kind of perfected complexion you achieved, while modern rouge and lip products serve identical, enhancing functions. The tools themselves, tweezers, mirrors, application brushes, remain essentially unchanged since medieval times. What hasn't changed is the fundamental human desire to feel confident, attractive, and socially accepted, or the willingness to invest effort and accept risks in pursuit of these goals. Your medieval beauty routine and tonight's social success represent timeless human experiences that continue to resonate, because the underlying needs and motivations remain constant even as the specific methods and cultural contexts evolve across centuries. The social intelligence you demonstrated tonight, understanding your audience, adapting your presentation to circumstances, balancing confidence with modesty, represents skills that remain just as valuable in contemporary social and professional situations as they were in medieval courtship negotiations. As the candle burns lower in your medieval chamber and the extraordinary day gradually settles into memory, there's a profound satisfaction in recognizing how tonight's experience connects you to the endless human story of aspiration, creativity, and the pursuit of beauty that transcends individual cultures and historical periods. Your elaborate morning routine, the complex social navigation of the Guild Feast, the potential marriage alliance that may emerge from tonight's interactions, all of this represents one chapter in the ongoing human exploration of how appearance, effort, and social intelligence can be combined to create opportunities for connection and advancement. The beauty techniques you mastered draw from centuries of accumulated feminine wisdom, each recipe and procedure representing discoveries made by countless women who experimented, refined, and passed down their knowledge through networks of shared experience that operated alongside and sometimes in opposition to formal educational institutions. Your success tonight honors this tradition while contributing your own discoveries and adaptations that may influence future generations of women facing similar challenges. The risks you accepted, the time you invested, the resources your family dedicated to your beauty education. These choices reflect a fundamentally optimistic worldview that believes human effort can meaningfully improve circumstances and create opportunities for happiness and fulfillment. Even when the specific methods seem dangerous or strange from modern perspectives, the underlying faith in the possibility of transformation and advancement represents an admirable and deeply human response to life's challenges. Your evening's triumph also demonstrates the remarkable human capacity for finding joy, meaning, and satisfaction within whatever historical circumstances we encounter. The particular beauty standards, social customs, and economic constraints of medieval life created a specific set of challenges and opportunities, but your ability to work creatively within these limitations while pursuing universal goals of love, security, and social connection shows how people in every era create rich, meaningful lives regardless of external circumstances. The knowledge you've gained, the skills you've developed, the social connections you've formed, these achievements will continue to serve you throughout your life, providing the foundation for the complex roles of wife, mother, and community member that await you. Tonight's success represents not an ending, but a beginning, the first major demonstration of your readiness to take your place in the sophisticated world of medieval adult society. And so your remarkable day draws to its gentle close. The elaborate beauty routine that began before dawn has culminated in social opportunities that could shape the rest of your life. The complex preparations that seemed so demanding this morning now feel like natural expressions of human creativity and aspiration. As you settle deeper into your comfortable bed, surrounded by the familiar textures and scents of your medieval world, the rough wool blankets that smell faintly of the sheep they came from, the lavender and rosemary scattered among the floor rushes, the lingering fragrance of the rose oil that still clings to your hair. The successful evening gradually fades into the peaceful realm of memory. The golden candlelight of the guild hall, the warm conversations and meaningful glances, the music and dancing that tested and proved your beauty preparations, all of it settling into the comfortable distance of accomplished goals and satisfied aspirations. Your breathing slows naturally as the day's efforts find their resolution in the approaching comfort of sleep, the lead-based face powder carefully removed, the elaborate hair arrangements gently loosened, the ordinary nighttime routines that prepare you for rest and renewal. The medieval world around you grows quiet as households across the town settle into their evening rhythms, the distant sound of church bells marking the late hour, the whisper of autumn wind through narrow streets, the peaceful silence of a community at rest. And in this gentle quiet, as your eyes grow heavy and your thoughts begin to drift, you carry with you the satisfaction of a day well lived, beauty achieved through patient effort, social challenges successfully navigated, and the promise of new opportunities emerging from tonight's careful work. Sleep comes naturally now, soft and welcoming, carrying you gently into dreams of golden hair and candle-lit halls, of ancient beauty secrets and timeless human connections. Peaceful, restful, complete.